What's up, strongest men, women, and children from blocks all around the world? I am my block's strongest man, joined by my esteemed co-host, Isaac from Hunger Smash Fitness. And we have some great guests today. Strongman Corp recently had their nationals and awarded some pro cards. So we're very, very lucky to have three of those new pros on today, two of whom are on right now, and one of whom hopefully will be joining a little later. And here she is. Let's pop her up. And so here's our three new pros. We have Jessica Mitchell, Jessica Helms. When one Jessica is not enough, we bring on two. And we have Nancy Johnson. So welcome to all three of you. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks.
Jessica Mitchell, no wine this time.
No. No. Doing the 75 hard. So outside of like celebrating post competitions, I haven't been drinking, which is
you have a lot of celebrating to do. You've been pretty successful lately, so congrats to you. So you're pro in both organizations now, is that right?
Apparently. I didn't think, and so technically Nancy is too. Like I guess clarification on like winning Pro Women's Worlds or placing in Pro Women's Worlds, I think you get like your pro status. I think there's still like some ambiguity around that, but from what I was told, if you podiumed, then yeah, you get your pro status for them.
Really, yeah.
I was going to ask about that, as I know I saw like the Masters. I know that level they awarded pro cards, but I wasn't sure how USS was doing that. So that's awesome.
All cards.
Yeah, it's not like a pro card, not like Strongman Corp. Like I guess you guys probably got your email too, like what last week, where they're like, "Here's your pro card," and I was like, "That's really cool." Yeah. So they still don't have anything like that with USS. They are working on next year. They're gonna award like the first like pro contract. So like a male and female athlete from winning. It's the I can't remember what the name of the show is, but it's in Austin, in Texas. And top male athlete, like first place, and top female, there's no weight classes within the whole competition. They will win like an actual like pro contract where they'll get paid every month by USS. Yeah. So, but cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. So why don't we start off by just going through everybody's backgrounds a little bit? We kind of get to know you and let the audience get to know you a bit. So Jess Helms, how about why don't you get started and kind of walk us through how you first got into Strongman? Sure,
yeah. So actually it was about 2019, so a couple years ago. I powerlift. So I started out powerlifting, and I joined Spider Strength Gym, which is owned by James Deffenbaugh. So it's a pro strongman. And so I went there to train, and I had some friends that did strongman at the time. So I was, squatting, benching, and deadlifting, and they were over there, pressing logs and carrying sandbags. And so they tried to get me over to the dark side. So that finally wore me down. So I trained for my first show at the beginning of that year. It was actually a USS show. It was a 132 weight class at the time. And then after that, I was just kind of hooked. So I still went back and forth a little bit. So I would do a couple strongman shows. And then last year I did only powerlifting. That's because it was just easier as far as like accessing the equipment during that time to powerlift. And then this year I came back for Strongman Corp and had a show in July and competed in Nats. And so, yeah, I feel like it's been a very short timeline, but it's once I started, I was hooked. And a lot of that has to do, I think, with the community. Is watching everyone in Spider Strength. I mean, everyone knows that Strongman's got such a strong community. Everyone's so close and positive. So that's kind of how I started getting into it. But
you still train with James at all?
Yeah, so he's obviously there frequently. So yeah, well, I don't train with him, obviously. I watch him and admire him from a distance, but yeah, him and Aaron. So yeah, we're all pretty close. So yeah.
I was going to ask you to put in a good word. I've been trying to get a hold of him for the show for a while. James is really impressive at ASM.
Yes. Yes, he was. Yeah, he's a busy man. But yeah.
Awesome. Cool story. So Nancy, how about you? How did you first get into strongman? What's this wonderful tale that we can all hear?
Wonderful tale. I also started powerlifting. I would actually attribute my military career to my strongman career because I met my coach through the military. He asked me to come train at his garage, and then it was history. I fell in love with the sport. Also dabbled a little bit in powerlifting and strongman at first, and then ultimately went to my first nationals, won my first nationals. I was there with Jessica Mitchell as well. We both podiumed together at that show, and that's really what sparked it all. I decided that I wanted to pursue this even further, and here we are.
Yeah, I think there's quite a lot of veterans in the strongman community. Jessica Fithen used to be an air traffic controller, which I found fascinating. Yeah, a lot of veterans in strongman. So Jessica Mitchell, for those that didn't catch you last time you were on our show, why don't you give us a bit about your background?
So I did not start as a powerlifter. I got into strength training really as an excuse to eat terribly. I just read like magazines and was like, you know, if you work out and you lift weights, apparently your body burns more fat. So that's kind of what I did. And then my first coach actually talked me into doing strongman. I was doing tire flips and there was like a smaller tire and that's the one I was using. And he came over and he was like, why don't you use the big tire? And I was like, because that thing is like fucking huge. It's like ginormous. I'm not going to flip that. And he's like, no, you can totally do that. So he showed me, and then he talked me into coming to do the strongman class that he did at the time. And eventually, like, it led to doing my first competition, which actually was in Roanoke. So it's kind of cool, like kind of like a full circle kind of thing, that my first ever strongman comp as a heavyweight novice was in Roanoke, and then like I win my pro card in Roanoke. So that was really cool. But yeah, just like everybody else, I did my first comp and I was hooked, and pretty much from the get-go, like I had a goal to get to nationals. And once I kind of figured out how like everything worked level wise, I knew I wanted to win my pro card. But yeah, so that was my intro into strength training and strongman, and never would have thought I would have done this like growing up. I was a figure skater growing up. So here we are now.
Awesome. Interesting story. So I'm just going to take a quick minute. I have to thank our sponsors for this stream. By the way, anybody who hasn't clicked that like button, please go ahead and click the like button, subscribe. After we're all done, head over to Hunger Smash Fitness and watch a bunch of Isaac stuff. Subscribe there as well. And we want to thank our sponsors over at Garage Gym Life Media, who actually just were very instrumental in Static Monsters, if you caught any of that this past weekend. So if you haven't, you should go over to their channel. I'm sure it's still up to watch, so definitely check it out there. But let's let John Greaves III, the founder of Garage Gym Life Media, tell you a little bit about all the awesome stuff they're doing over there.
Training in a home gym, especially if you're training by yourself, can be tough because sometimes you just don't have the motivation to go in your garage or your basement and get it done. And that's why we stream competitions every month on the Garage Gym Life Media YouTube channel. I'm John Greaves III, founder of Garage Gym Life Media, and after 20 years of training in a home gym, I can tell you that there's some days when I just don't feel like training. And those are the days when I put on some sort of training video or other strength-related content to give me the extra motivation I need to get in there and get it done. There is nothing more motivating than seeing people achieving their goals at a powerlifting meet or a strongman competition. And that's why month after month, we provide that content to you right there in the comfort of your own home on our YouTube channel. Plus, we leave it up forever so you can always just throw it on in the background anytime you need that extra dose of motivation to get you going. And that's why, if you're not already a subscriber to Garage Gym Life Media, I invite you to take advantage of this opportunity to add this powerful training tool into your arsenal, because I want you to succeed right there in the best gym in town.
And so once again, we want to thank our sponsors over at Garage Gym Life Media for sponsoring this stream. And I think we should get into the bread and butter question that everybody wants to hear in the audience, which is, what was your road to getting your pro card? So somebody who's first getting into the sport and thinks, like, what will this journey be like? What are the steps along the way? Whoever would like to go first, kind of, what was your journey to getting your pro card?
Okay, I guess I will talk. I would say it can be very discouraging at times, and that's something that I wish I had known beforehand, because I started the sport initially just trying it out, and then every little mistake I would make started to really get to me because I realized I was starting to become really passionate about this sport. So you have to be prepared for those letdowns, of course. And I have certainly had my share of downfalls and mistakes and moments where I just wish I could have prepared better or saw them coming. But the road to my pro card was definitely about overcoming, I guess, all of the unforeseeable and just pushing through. Of course, having a lot of the right tools in my arsenal, but sometimes you don't really start with all the same tools as everybody else. So the comparison, losing to someone, there's just a lot to be prepared for that you just got to take head on.
Did you have certain events that came easier to you and others that you really had to work hard to master?
Absolutely. When I first started with a log, I was absolutely terrified of it. Like, just being underneath weight as it got heavier became a terrifying mental challenge for me until I fell in love with the log in a way. Whereas other things came naturally, like stones have always come naturally to me. So that's an event that I'm never scared of. I'm just ready for it. But I used to just get terrified of overhead being under it for some reason.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that because I like pressing stones because I go in, hiking, and it's easier to find larger and larger stones to challenge yourself. And it never occurred to me that, like, if I lose my grip, that thing could crush my skull, until I saw somebody on Starting Strongman warn this kid, like this 18-year-old kid who was doing the same thing. And I'm like, maybe I should really concentrate and be careful.
Yeah, you can't predict that kind of stuff.
Yeah, Isaac never warned me. I mean, I thought we were friends, but he never warned me. So,
well, I haven't crushed my head yet. Okay, so once I do, then I'll send out a formal warning.
I dropped a few rocks on my head, but I guess I enjoy loading stones instead of pressing stones. That's the truth.
Cool. Jess Helms, how about you? What has your journey to your pro card been like, and what are some lessons you think the audience might appreciate?
Sure. Yeah. No, I mean, I honestly didn't expect, this was my first national, so I wasn't really sure what to expect. I mean, the only shows I've done 4 shows before Nats, and they were all local, right? So you just don't know, like, it's your first time trying to figure out, like, how do you rank against other people? How competitive are you? The journey, and I can relate to a lot of what Nancy shared, but a lot of it too was just putting on some size, right? So I mean, I started out in the 132 weight class, and I kind of just felt small. And I hired a coach, and we're actually good friends. Isaac Smith, he's also a Strongman competitor, and he's like, Jess, you got to eat. So really just having a better relationship with food, eating, putting on some size, being confident. That was, I mean, so you compare yourself, like, I think that's probably one of the big things I would share is just not to compare yourself to like the best, like, women in like your weight class. So, celebrate the small victories, be confident in what you're doing, even if you're not always confident, but you can't, I mean, obviously if you're pressing a log over your head, you can't hesitate. So do everything you do with confidence. Obviously eat, like I said, celebrate the small victories. Don't compare yourself to other people. And then I struggle with some of the fundamentals. Like, I mean, getting good sleep. Like, I mean, everyone knows that obviously when you're in strength or performance sport, like you got to sleep, you got to eat, you got to take care of your body. You got to recover. So even at Nats, I was like, I had a hard time. I was so nervous, eating. So I was like, Jess, you've got to eat or you're not gonna be able to do anything. And it moved so fast. So like at powerlifting meets, I mean, you sit there, you're squatting, benching, and deadlifting, and you're eating snacks in between each lift. But I feel like, I don't know if you guys felt the same way, and I'm sure you guys have experienced nationals before, but the first event was over and you're like back warming up for the next one. Like there's no time to dally. So I don't think, I guess to answer your question though, I didn't really plan the exact journey, but that's how it played out. And those are the things that I would definitely emphasize for someone new starting out. So.
How long did you do powerlifting before you tried Strongman? And did you ever do like weight cuts or anything for powerlifting, or was diet important?
Yeah, so it's funny they mention that because I had been powerlifting. I got a coach when I started at Spider, and I started out powerlifting, but I never actually like competed. And so my first competition was actually for Strongman. And I cut from about 138 to 132. So I kind of got my feet wet cutting a little bit, and that's a really small water cut. And then the next one, I did the same thing. And then I went to the 140 weight class, and I was like, okay, I got to fill this out. And then I actually competed in powerlifting. I've only done 2 powerlifting meets, but I think my background, like I've always lifted weights to some degree. I'm not as graceful as the other Jessica. I played rugby and did like jujitsu, so nothing about me is graceful or coordinated. But yeah, I still consider myself originally more of a power lifter. Now, obviously, I'm obviously a strong woman. So
I would argue there's coordination involved in jiu-jitsu.
There is. It's a lot of, and again, it's not so much about size. It's about leverage, and I got a lot of hip power and everything. So I tried to translate a lot of that into strongman, but it does take some coordination, which I discovered like on the wheelbarrow race. So at the very end, I don't know if you got, I like started to veer a little bit to the right. It's like, all right, Jess, you got to stay in your lane. Worried about the sandbags too. I was like, I'm going to knock somebody out. I got to keep it, like, I got to get it together, but so.
That's funny. And Jessica Mitchell, how about your story? What has your road to the pro card been like?
I mean, this year has definitely been one of, I think, my craziest. Every year I'm like, I'm not going to compete that much. And then I end up doing like 5 or 6 competitions because I'm insane. But I honestly wasn't expecting to get, especially like Strongman Corp pro card this year. Like I said, it was one of the goals that I've had since I've started doing Strongman, but going into nationals, having competed not even like a week before that, I kind of didn't really like expect this to happen. But as far as like, I guess what it takes to get to that point, for me, it's all about obsession. Like I said, I start off every year saying I'm not going to do that many competitions, but then I sign up for things, and I love competing. I like competing with myself. I like competing against other people. So I think like to really get to that point, you really need to have like that kind of like competitive spirit. Because kind of like Nancy said, if you go to a competition and you get your butt kicked by somebody else and you're not like fully like prepared to deal with that, like it can really discourage you. So I try not to like go into any sort of competition like thinking, oh, I'm going to be the best. Like I always go in thinking like, okay, just don't screw up. Like that's that's like goal number 1 is don't screw up. And then goal number 2 is just try and play the game, because strongman's definitely the kind of sport where it's like chess. Like it's like Nancy and I compete against each other, and we'll probably be competing against each other for
all the time.
So like I know the events that I absolutely don't stand a chance to beat her in, because she's a dominant like athlete. She's just so strong, and I'm like, I know what I can't beat her in, but then I'm like, okay, what can I try and beat her in?
The moving event.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's definitely a chess game. And I think to get to like, I'm sure there's a lot of people that have like just really good days and, they happen to just fall into winning their pro card. But I think if your like goal is to get to that point, you've got to be competitive, and you've got to be able to take like the bad days, and you got to be able to play the game of strongman, because it's definitely a game for sure.
Yeah, I think there's a lot more chess going on than the casual observer would understand. It's not full exertion on every event. It's, playing the points and that sort of thing.
Oh yeah. Well, like at nationals when we were warming up, a lot of people were running the wheelbarrow, and I was like, I am conserving my energy. I am way too lazy to run that more than I have to do. My warm up was just picking the wheelbarrow. I was like, I'm conserving my energy. I'm not going to waste it right now. But I think a lot of times we get like nerves. So people are like, they got to go for it. But I'm a lazy warm up person.
Yeah, I remember the live stream was while I was working, so I really couldn't watch it. So I had it off to the side. But you know, not for nothing, like with your red hair, I could pick you out. So I'm like, that's my buddy Jessica. I gotta watch. It was fun.
I had a couple people tell me that's how we knew it was you. We just saw the red hair like going back and forth. I was like, that's me. I guess I can't ever dye my hair any other color because no one will know who I am.
Yeah, I think I caught a little bit of bag over bar, so that was definitely fun. So yeah, I mean, speaking of nationals, what are all of your experiences? Whoever would like to go first, like, how do you think it went? What did you like about it? What did you not like so much about it? Which events did you kind of have more fun with, less? Just what were your overall experiences at nationals?
I'm just gonna say we had no music that whole weekend. It was so quiet, and that's like, it was one of those things like we didn't notice it until everybody noticed it, and then it was like the glass shattering, where it's like, there's no music. Like, how are we supposed to do things with? Everyone's gonna hear us grunting and moaning, and it's fun.
Well, I know one of the state reps. Maybe I'll talk to him if I know him. Oh, I was just gonna say, if I know him, he's in the audience, and he is. I just checked. What's up, Costin?
I would say that this year's nationals was probably one of the best run major shows that I've been to, volunteering or being a part of it. It was very smooth. The judges, the helpers, the spotters, loaders, everybody was very professional. And like, there were a few instances where myself and one of my friends had an issue with scoring on the wheelbarrow deadlift, and it honestly, all it took was our judges confirming with the head judge and clarifying the issues, and like, everything was so well run. The banquet, like, it was a very nice weekend. I was insanely excited for the Axel clean and press for some reason, even though the fact that we had to clean every rep was insane. And that was probably my favorite event. I went in there thinking I would be top dog on log, got my butt kicked, owned it, moved on, and had an amazing time with Axel clean and press, and came back for that win. So I would say it was a really good weekend just in general.
But wait a minute, you were second on log. If I'm looking at my my notes correctly, I wouldn't say that's a failure.
And kind of like what Jessica said, like, you have to, well, not, you don't have to, but sometimes you do know somebody else has another strength in that area. And I went in thinking, okay, I'm going to definitely hit 225, maybe 230, and set this middleweight record, which I did neither of those things. And I had to step back and be like, okay, you know what? Like, that girl I haven't met before, Cassandra, really awesome job. I need to let her take that win and move on and focus on the rest of the weekend. So when I say I was upset, it was because I had goals set for myself that I thought were appropriate, but they were a little bit too aggressive.
Interesting. And then you came back strong on Axel clean and press because you won that event.
Yeah. My favorite event of the weekend.
Awesome.
You,
and Jessica,
you said you got your butt kicked. That just goes to show, though, you're a competitor. You're a competitor, though. That's the thing, though. Like, you didn't hit what you wanted to hit, and so that's the mindset you got to have. I felt the complete opposite about my Axel clean and press. It was absolutely terrible. I knew it was going to be tough, but I went into day 2 in second place, and I just completely, I forgot how to like push jerk. It's just like, I don't know if it was just like panic, like what happened? Like my legs wouldn't move. It just, it was that was rough. That was definitely my worst event. So yeah, you can see where I went into second, day 2, and then I started with that, and I was like middle of the pack. And so I spent the rest of the day, like, I got to climb out of this hole. And so I never would have thought that the yoke would have been my favorite, but that's the one that I won. And that's the one where I was like, okay, if I don't win this, like I might not podium. And so I think when all the cards were on the line at that point in time, like I just had to show up. So that was probably my favorite event of the weekend. And then obviously I'm going to like deadlift because I like to deadlift. I feel like in strongman, you're either, and I could be wrong, y'all can argue with me, you're either like a really good deadlifter or you're a really good presser. It's not as often that you're just like fantastic at both of them. So I would definitely consider myself more of a deadlifter and decent on moving events, but pressing, that's like the thing I really need to work on. So.
What do you think, Isaac? Is that the case? You're either a good presser or a good deadlifter? I would say like Marcus Crowder's pretty close on both.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's like a handful of guys like Wesley Claiborne and stuff who are like they're pretty good at just about everything. But I think generally speaking, in my experience from watching competitions, yeah, you're gonna have someone who's really good, deadlifting and really good pressing, and not usually both, but. You do have
actually, I just thought of the ultimate example, Andrea Thompson.
I was about to say Nancy is definitely a presser and a deadlifter.
She
agreed.
Oh
yeah, because you are.
I said it's not as common. You have to be bad at the other one, but yeah, she's definitely great at all of them.
You gotta think the deadlift this weekend was a reps event. So if we're talking deadlift reps, I would put that in the moving category because it's lighter. It's supposed to be faster. But in my experience with my group of training peers, deadlifts and overheads usually go up simultaneously, and like things like squats and moving events start to like you either have one or the other. So
yeah,
I guess it's who you train with.
I would agree because I know like I wouldn't say like my moving events are terrible. But like that used to be the thing that I'd always win, like no matter what. And I think the strength is still there, but I think like when you start putting so much emphasis on building that static strength, sometimes you start to lose like that not endurance, but your speed in moving events, which is, I mean, no one really cares. Can you pick it up and move it? We want to know, okay, how fast can you pick this up and move it? So when you really start like building up that static strength, like Nancy was talking about, sometimes that you take away that attention from another area. Because I've even noticed that in myself. And I told my coach, I was like, hey, I need to start like running stairs or something because I need to start getting faster.
Doing hill sprints or something.
No lie.
Because when I first found you on IG, like all you were doing was moving stuff like yokes, and I think you were doing like a Zercher with a yoke. It was just all running.
Yeah. So, and that really sucks a lot. So I don't really like to have to do that. So part of me is like, can we just work on like upper body and not so much the running until I have to start running? And I was like, God, why do I suck at this so much now? I was like, because I don't ever want to do it.
And then looking at other people's videos, if they have like a 500-pound log, it's easy for you to go, wow, they're stronger than me. But when you're watching moving events, it's so hard to be like, are they faster? Like, were they faster? Better than me? Like, what do you think that they're running around with? It's hard to see what your competition's doing. Not that you should be doing that.
I mean, I already said it. You need to know who your competition is so you can play the game. I'm the overly competitive one. I definitely will like stalk and find like who I'm competing against to figure out like, unless it's someone I already know. Like if it's someone I already know, like I'm not stressing out about it. But if it's someone new, like I will like scroll through. I'm like, okay, when's the last time you hit a max like PR? Like, what are your numbers looking like?
The under.
But most people do that though, don't they? I mean, I definitely did that, but that was my first national competition. I had no idea what to expect, but it's definitely like there's some strategy to that. I definitely did that on the sandbag toss. I was like, okay, I'm probably not going to get like, there's a high chance I'm not going to get that fourth bag over. So the first three, I just have to crush it. Like I've got to really be speedy on those first three. And I was, and that's why, I got second on that just because that just thinking about it that way. And that's not, I don't think it's bad to be like, you're probably not going to get the fourth bag, but it's definitely some numbers game and a strategy game.
I knew from last year, I think Aaron Walkla and Nadia were the only two that got all 4 bags over last year. Same like bag weights, and I'm pretty sure it was 13 feet. So only 2 girls got it. So I was like, okay, I'm like, realistically, maybe 2 to 3 ladies this year will have it. So like you, like my goal was to get those first 3 bags. Like I can get the first 3 bags. I don't have to swing it. I don't have to do anything. Like I just run backwards, toss it over. The 35-pound bag is just like in Happy Gilmore when he's trying to like knock the like ball into the hole. That's me with that 35-pound bag. I'm just like, don't you want to go into your home? Yeah. Like all your friends went over there. Why don't you want to go over there? It's crazy.
Yeah, I feel that. I feel that.
Way too that event. I thought because I had seen everyone struggling with that 35-pound bag, I was like, slow, steady. And then I got second on the event, and my coach was like, that was too slow. Like, what fool was that?
Okay, in your defense, though, Katie had that thing over, like, she knocked all 4 of those bags over so fast. Like, I don't think there's any way anybody could have beaten her. It was the Highland training that kicked in. She just went into, like, Scottish mode and just started, like, tossing those things over.
Yeah. Right. But you're like, all right, just got to keep focusing on the next thing then.
Yeah.
So the one thing I was wondering, though, when you're training for, we're talking about bag, but moving events, like sometimes they're so close together, like do you really consider that a failure? Like for example, Nancy, you beat Jessica by 9/100ths of a second on the wheelbarrow race. So like Jessica, are you thinking like, oh, I messed up, or like I can't do anything about something that's that close?
I wasn't upset about it at all. Like I know realistically when it comes to something being that close, like honestly, that could have been something as simple as my scorekeeper or horse skirt, like my scorekeeper either being like a 10th of a second slow or hers being a 10th of a second fast. Like on it, like I feel like if we were facing the same direction, we probably would have crossed like at the same time because we were going.
I don't know what the video from that looks like, but it's a pretty sweet video where you see me cross the line first and then her yoke video, and Jessica beat me by it was either like a second or a second and a half, and you watch her cross the finish line because we were going opposite directions on both events. So both times I was like, I don't know where Jessica is, but like I go. And right after the wheelbarrow, she was like, what'd you get? I was like 9, and she was like, I got 9, and I was like, no, what? Like, what is?
I dropped the yoke because when I got to the first spot where return, I saw like you were still going. I was like, oh my God. And I got so excited that on the trip back, I got ahead of myself and I dropped the yoke because I was like, oh, I think I might do it. And yeah. And I mean, I did, but I got so like, and I wasn't even mad because I always mess yoke up. So that was my goal, was don't mess this up. And I messed it up, but I was like, I'm not even mad because I was like excited when I dropped the yoke.
And you won the event. So
yeah.
So do you prefer competing like opposite to each other or head to head? Because I know personally, I much prefer going head to head because then if I see the other person pulling ahead, that competitive edge kicks in. I'm like, oh, I'm just going to go like psycho here and I will win this. But that's just kind of me.
Head to head for sure. It just ended up that way because so many of they had set the heats up so that the last heats were the finalists or whatever. And all of the beginning heats were having issues moving the implements. So that we ended up staggered like that.
Yeah.
Had we been head to head, that would have been even cooler.
Yeah. That would have been awesome.
What did all of you think of the weights overall? Was it a heavy show, light show, just right show? Which of the Goldilocks bears was it?
I thought the deadlift was rude, but that's just like my personal preference. Everything else I thought was super. I mean, I thought it was very doable.
I thought it was. Oh, go ahead.
I was just say I thought it was very doable too. I thought that I kind of wish the deadlift had been like heavier, so that way I didn't have to like 16 reps seems just like that's a lot, right? So just make it like 420, do like a handful. Like what was, but everything else was fair. Yeah, I mean, I thought everything was.
I would say it was fair, but it also has to do with your perspective of how you prepped for the show. So like all 3 of us went into it hoping to podium, I believe. So we all train specifically for these moments to count.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the other thing I'll say is there were a lot of competitors, so the fact that you podiumed means quite a bit.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I was excited.
Absolutely. Yeah, so I mean, probably, Isaac, unless you want to jump in with anything else, we'll wrap up by letting everybody have a chance to promote anything you'd like, any shows you have coming up in the future, or anything exciting you have coming up that you'd like the audience to know about. So whoever would like to go first, feel free.
Or sponsors that you want to shout out as well.
I guess I'm unmuted, so I will go. I'm doing OSG with Nancy. We're in the same weight class. So there is that. I feel completely unprepared for it. But it'll be also, here's my cat. Say hi, Luke.
Hi, Luke.
Okay. But yeah, that should be fun. And then finally, after doing 2 competitions already, well, technically 3, because I did Static Monsters on Saturday. I don't know what day of the week it is. It'll be nice to not have to train for events. But I guess outside of that, I will give a shout out to my sponsor, Venator Strength. Because, yeah, they're pretty cool. They're always hooking me up with these really sweet grip shirts. They've got some great deadlift socks that I wear like all the time now because they're really comfy. So you guys should check them out.
Awesome. Sounds good. OSG is a few weeks from now, right? Like beginning of November, November 12th or something?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, November 12th to 14th.
Yep.
3-day show.
That's awesome. That'll be a lot of fun. Jessica, you don't take a break at all, huh?
No, like I said, I am crazy. And I run off rage and self-loathing. So that's why we're always doing stuff, because we need to do stuff.
It's cool. You're accumulating quite a lot of rewards, though. Your IG posts look like you're more decorated than Hulk Hogan these days.
I do have 2 belts, so I might go as like a pro wrestler for Halloween. I don't know.
You should. I'm going as Jessica Mitchell for Halloween.
Aw.
Nice. So, Nancy, how about you? As we hear, you're going to be at OSG as well. Excited?
I will be at OSG. I think I'm excited. I would like to say that I love seeing all of I new people, amateurs, more amateurs. Like the amateur side of the sport is growing, and that makes my heart go a bajillion times. So I just want to say to everyone out there, keep working for yourself and do everything you can in your power to get and receive all the goals and great things you want, because it can happen. And meeting everyone at all these new shows is just such an awesome thing. But I just want to say thanks to all my brand ambassador companies. So Cerberus Strength, Panda Strong Podcast, and Lift Hard Die Strong. And then my sponsors, All Sport Nutrition. And that's it.
Awesome. And Jess, how about you?
I'll just echo what Nancy said as far as trying to, set small goals that can be achieved. And obviously good luck to both of you guys in 3 weeks. 3 weeks. That's exciting. I'll definitely look forward to she's like eye rolling. I look forward to watching and seeing how that goes. And then we'll see what happens with the Arnold. Actually, and then I'll just shout out like Hosswear. So I think they're actually doing all the competitor shirts for OSG. So my brand ambassador for them. And obviously my coach, Isaac Smith. So if anybody's looking for powerlifting or strongman coaching, he's been an excellent coach that generally cares about who he's working with and your success. So that's it though.
Fantastic. Very excited to be watching all 3 of you in your upcoming contests. And congratulations again for all your success at Nationals. Thanks again for joining us this evening. We had a blast, and hopefully we do it again soon in the future. What do you say?
Yeah.
That's good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Alrighty. Have a great evening, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.